first thing I want to go through is the framework that we use. So looking at things from the big picture, looking at the customer flow, looking at our triad, and looking at our readiness quadrant. So making sure you understand the processes and frameworks that make up whether a brand is successful or not. And they're really important. It's often what stage your brand is at, whether these apply to you. When we go into the advertising sections tomorrow and the email section on Thursday, that will be more applicable to everybody. Today, some of this might be, you might look and you might think, well, we've got that dialed in already. I would encourage you to see it as an opportunity, though, to look at underlying systems you've got in place and thinking about the big picture and think about that customer journey. Okay, so first of all, everything we do and everything we encourage you should do is built around a framework, because you have what is actually a relatively small number of jobs to do in e-commerce. And what people tend to do is get quite bogged down with detail and quite bogged down with what they're looking at and what they're tracking. But the 4 jobs you need to do are attract people. So if we translate this into a bricks and mortar sense, you need to be able to attract an audience. That's foot traffic, or in our case, that is website traffic. We need to be able to engage them into actually making a transaction with us, whether that is even something to do with an opt-in would still be classed as a transaction, because they are trading some of their information with us in return for us being able to then communicate with them through something like email. So that would be a conversion in itself. We then need to accelerate that process. The danger is that a lot of people, a lot of brands stop here. They focus on this first bit and they think that is the most critical part of this model. And actually, this feeds the rest of the model, but without this initial area here, you cannot have anything here. But then if you don't capitalize on the back end revenue, you're going to be in a situation where you're just constantly looking at acquisition, which is the most challenging part of the process. And we would always want to get you to a stage where you know what your return on investment is over a longer time frame. People talk about return on ad spend, and yes, that is most valid. You should always think about things like that. You want to know what your why is, but then over the longer term, you want to know, okay, what is my acquisition cost versus what is the lifetime value of that customer? Because every brand's going to be different. Everyone's going to have a different repeat purchase cycle. But what you want to do is create a system where you know what you put in versus what you get out. What is that figure? How much do you increase that input by in the end, and what the output is? So the acceleration is getting people to basically spend more and to buy from you again, and then retaining is getting people to maintain that customer relationship and to buy from you repeatedly and to become that real brand advocates as well. Another thing that's often ignored is the power of the existing customer base you've got and their ability to perform marketing on your behalf. So really it all boils down to 3 key metrics. You've got your conversion rate, your average order value, and your lifetime value of the customer. If you work on those 3, and yes, there are other KPIs we're going to talk about within that, but if you focus on those 3 and you raise those metrics, those marginal increases are going to have a substantial impact on the business. So it's all of simplification. And I don't want to, by the way, go through just customer testimonials, by the way, because this is not some kind of like weird sales pitch, but it's important to recognize that when you get a framework in place, you can achieve great things. So we've had a few successes that it's good to look at. People going from very, very new brands to doing consistent revenue in short periods of time because they've got good product market fit and they've got systems in place throughout the framework. Other people that are just no longer stuck watching YouTube videos for 3 or 4 hours per day, which is what Steve was particularly happy about. they've got a shortcut and a framework instead. Some people that are already doing significant revenue who we can make small changes with, and we look at the funnel overall, we look at what needs to be altered, and we can have big impacts through small changes. Or Scal, who is one of our most recent clients, who, when I actually looked at this today and I was putting this together, I was quite genuinely astounded by the change that's taken place in the 2 to 3 month period we've been making gains. We've had a huge increase in sales, average order values up, and the returning customer rate has doubled. So this has been an absolute magical journey, and she's only really just started this, but it's all comes down to her as well. She's done a very good job. So, there's many more of that, and I'm not going to just wax on about those, but I did want to make it clear what we can achieve. So the big picture is this, and this is where I would encourage you to make sure that you look at this from a sky high perspective. So within your marketing, you need to know, what are you doing to attract people? So in that case, we're looking at things like ads, affiliate marketing, influencers, referrals. So this first stage, this attract stage, is what's really feeding the funnel, the overall sales process, the cold part of the process. So we need to have systems in place for that. And what we'd encourage you to do is, as an exercise, is to look at this. And what I'll do is I'll send you a copy of this. I've got a list of everybody registered event. I'll send you a copy of this after the event today. And it'll be really useful to look at your own brand and business and think, what is going on in each of these stages? So what do we do in the attraction stage? What do we do in the engagement stage to get leads? Now, that's because if we just focus solely on conversions in terms of purchases, that does not give us a rounded view of how successful we are dealing with this attraction stage. So yes, we want to get as many people to buy as possible, and that is the overriding principle of any e-commerce store. But if they don't buy, it does not mean that all is lost. And I think sometimes we can have that view, and we can make the mistake of thinking, there was no purchase taking place, that customer is gone. The question is then, how many did we capture? And we want to be aiming for 5% or more. How many did we capture? An ability to then have a direct communication channel with in the future. Because if we can capture something like an email address, and longer term perhaps look at converting that into an SMS, we can then have the direct communication with them, and we can use that in an appropriate way. So when I say appropriate way, I do not mean just firing out emails that try to sell something constantly and never giving out anything else, because I think that's the mistake that many brands make. And that's why people don't engage with your marketing emails. If you really want to be successful with email, you need to see it in this way. Email is essentially the most exclusive social media environment that you can possibly have access to with somebody. So it's a social environment. They don't go there to go shopping. They go there to catch up on whatever it is that is information they need to engage with. So if you are just putting out an advert to them, that does not fit in with the reason they are in their emails. So it's very, very important to make that thought process slightly different now with the way that we use email. So hopefully all that makes sense. The front end, stage 1, 2, and 3. And then we move to the back end with stage 4 and 5. And that's where we start to look at accelerating that process. So what are we doing to marginal gains? What are we doing to encourage people? The best time essentially to get anybody to buy from your brand is when they've just made a purchase. There is no sweeter moment for a customer as when they've made a purchase, they're excited to get to get whatever they've ordered, and they you send them something else, and it's just that perfect moment to capture their attention, to capture their excitement, and to get buying again. So there's a lot of work to be done there, and this is an area that we love and we really think you should focus on in a big way, and it takes time to build out these systems and processes. But these are the ones that are automated and generate significant amounts of revenue without you actually doing heavy lifting. And they're also, once they're in place, a huge return on investment. That's the key thing with this back end revenue. They are the best return on investment you will experience in your e-commerce store. So there's lots to be done. And over the next couple of days, we're going to go into more of the specific mechanics surrounding this model as well. So another tool we use is the Marketing Triad. And what we recognize is that essentially what you're trying to do as a marketer is take your e-commerce brand or product and connect what you're offering with the customer. So you've got your prospect here, you've got your product and brand here, and everything the marketing does is a bridge. So if you follow me on LinkedIn or Facebook, you'll have seen a recent post about this, and it's about creating that bridge between the two. And the way that you do that is through the what, the who, and the where. So there's always going to be a specific what is your message? What people always use the word USP, which makes sense, you know, but it really is about what is the moment when they decide this is for them. So what it clicks and they think, yeah, this is for me. Why me? And it's a case of why me, why you, and why now. And the who is simply the people that you serve, the people that are most likely to resonate with your product. And this is the most important, you know, establishing this is crucial, because if you don't know this, your messaging is off and you're not directly connecting those two. That bridge between the product and the prospect is not connected. And that's essentially what your marketing is. It's invoking in them an emotional reaction, because the thing is, we buy on emotion always, and this is sometimes something that we forget as marketers and brand owners, is everybody buys based on emotion, an emotional trigger. And it's very rarely about the product, it's about the outcome, whatever the product can deliver for them, or how it makes them feel or how it makes them appear. There's always something deeper there. I mean, we justify it with logic afterwards, you know. The classic one there is the middle-aged guy who goes out and buys an expensive sports car and, you know, goes home and introduces it to his wife and then justifies it by saying there was a 10% discount or something, when in actual fact, you know, he's bought this car because it makes him feel good in that particular moment in time. Nothing to do with the specific logical side of it, especially not with current gas prices. So we'll dig into this more tomorrow. This is the Ad Readiness Quadrant, and this is another framework for thinking about the product, the audience, the offer, and the funnel. And these are the things that you need to have established. So you need to know, what is the product? Why this product? Who is the audience? Who are the people that you're trying to target? What's the offer? And the offer is not a simple case of just giving somebody a discount, but the offer relates to, why should that person take action and buy at this point? Why do it now? Why not put it off and leave it for a different point in the future? And then the funnel is just a case of, what do you have built out? And that goes back to the funnel flow framework and the fact that you need something built out to elongate that process and to make sure that there's a clear route that your customer is going to take through from them becoming a customer right through for them staying with you over a longer period of time. So the bigger picture, the messaging and branding is always relying on desire, trust, and why buy now. So if you are in a position where you're looking at your brand or your site or your advertising, you have to have these three elements hidden or obvious within what you offer out to the market. So there has to be a clear reason why somebody would desire the product. There has to be an element of trust. They have to trust you before they will enter into a transactional relationship with you. And there has to be a reason they would buy now, that they would make that purchase at this particular moment in time.